Guys, do we remember the days of this? Well, if you do, then you're somewhere around my age. Today, we're going to take a look at this 486, find out what's inside, and I want to try and bring it back to somewhat its former glory, as I would love to set this up for my new vintage gaming machine. That's right, the Game Hunter is going vintage as well, which I always was, but yeah. Anyway, guys, just taking a quick look here. We have, of course, the PSU. I know the machine works. We have a parallel port here, a block or cover here where a serial port could be, your AT connector, not the old PS2, and then we have your serial for the mouse. Parallel, I guess this is the male, female, whatever, however you like to call it. And then we have a video card here that looks like it might be CGA and VGA, not 100%, and maybe the dip switches are there to confirm that. Of course, the sides for not really anything, as that is pretty normal. Overall, the machine's in pretty good condition. The big thing now, of course, is the yellowing. We have a 5 1/4 and a 3 1/2. I am not sure if there's a hard drive in here yet, but we're going to take it apart, take a look at the condition of the motherboard, strip it down, get rid of probably the CMOS battery, as we know that those old batteries are really bad for computers' health. And we're going to go from there. Let's see what we got. Okay, guys, let's get this back panel off and take a look at what we have. Held on by one screw by the look of it. Haven't seen that in a long time. One screw just in the middle here. Alright, does it come off this way or does it push forward? Okay. Open. Amazingly clean inside. Now I do see that there's an issue with the battery. See if I can get in on that. You see right here, there is some corrosion starting on this battery, but it doesn't look like it's gone anywhere yet. So we're gonna take this motherboard out, of course, get rid of this battery. Ooh, I can see stuff coming off. Get rid of this battery and put in something new. As we're taking this apart, of course, we can go over what's in here, and still don't know if there's a hard drive in here. There is a hard drive, but I don't think it's plugged in. Or if it is, the controller isn't. One of the two. Okay, so to start, I'm going to remove the video card and the IDE controller card, or the ATAPI controller card, or whatever you wish to call it. Now, another thing too, I do have a lot of upgrades for this, at least I hope I do, which will be in another video, of course, because right now I just want to get this up and running, find out why when I turn it on it doesn't boot to that hard drive. Maybe there's nothing on it. So let's, and while we're doing this, comment below on what operating system I should put on it. Now, I know DOS is going on it, but maybe I should put 3.1 or Windows 95. I really think 3.1 is the error correct thing for this, but hey, let's leave that up to you guys. Woo! ISA. So this is an ISA slot, guys. So this big long slot here is called ISA, and I believe with the addition, which looks like a backwards PCI, is actually called the VLB. So that's a huge connector. That's kind of nice. It's really nice to have that in here. Yes, we got a Trident video card. Guys, this is like the key video card to have in this era for gaming and so on. Nice. I'm glad it's in there. Now, this is a type of machine where we are not going to see USB ports. I mean, let's face it, I have to use a controller board. There is no IDE or anything on the board. So that, that rules out that idea completely. Now, I'm just going to lay this aside. I want to make sure that doing this, we're not... I have to remember what I'm doing. This is old hardware. meaning I'm not necessarily sure I remember how everything goes. For example, all this pinout stuff. So I have to take photos and remember all of that. This is a little pesky little cooler on here, but I think this is a DX2-66. Not 100%, but that's what I believe that is. So let's get the rest of this out. I guess we're going to have to do some unplugging here. Well, maybe I should actually, again, listen to my let's take pictures. Another thing to look for in this case too, just so you know, back in the day, this usually was pin 1. So the red line would give you that, you know, kind of error, or error stopping. And it's red again here. And I think there's some sort of a line on that one as well. So it kind of gives you, newer and later on, of course, they were pinned. You can see a key, like a little connector thing. But like this one, that was how it was done, and that is the way it was for quite a little while. So that was the IDE. This is the floppy controller, and this was the serial port for sure. So there we are, guys. There is a, and what do we have here? WinBond. So this is a WinBond controller. It's got WinBond chips pretty much everywhere. SIS chip. And I'm looking for a marking on the board. VL IDE. So VL. Remember? VESA. So VL. So VESA long, or whatever the heck it was. Here's your jumper pinouts and everything if you're going to change things, or IRQ settings or so on. Again, this is back in the day when PC building was fun. Holy cow, there's a bracket here that goes to the power supply that goes to the front. It's like a hanger for the bridge. Oh wow, a lot going on here. So another thing I want to do now is I want to take the floppy out, and that must be a power cable. That's kind of weird. Let's get this off. Oh, now I know why that wasn't working. So I tried to test and do a boot off the floppy. The cable wasn't even plugged in anymore. It was just kind of sitting there. So that solves that little issue. So I'm happy to see that. Another thing, we're going to have to take apart these drives and, you know, put some extra life into their mechanisms and put some white grease and stuff on just to make sure things are good. And what do we have here? Panasonic, my favorite. So we have the Panasonic as the model. So this is a JU257, a 343P. I believe this is a high density 144, but we'll have to check that out. Nice. I'm happy that it's Panasonic. Oh yeah, and there's the floppy I tried to do everything with, but now I understandably know why it didn't work, because it just couldn't. And let's get out the 5 1/4. A lot of people will be like, 5 1/4? What the heck are you keeping that for? Well, I do have a lot of original games that can run on that. But keep in mind, I'm doing something very modern for this machine to not have to use my original media, at least after I've copied it. Because the last thing you want to do is just keep using your floppies and your old media and then it dies. Very uncool. Now we probably should have some on this side, and we do. We're almost to that hard drive. We can figure out what that is. And we can figure out why it didn't do anything. Very clean in here, I gotta say. I'm very happy about that. Apparently this machine was used as a backup and was never deployed. That's the story that we are told. I mean, that is Matsushita, Panasonic. Nice. So somebody knew their parts. And it does make a real wonder why both of them are gray. So I'm guessing that was a Panasonic Matsushita thing back then. Maybe I should do the front in that color, because I don't think the yellowing is really going to come off here. And there's 4 screws, I think 5 screws holding the front panel on. We'll take that off soon. And what do we have in here? We have a Connor drive. This drive is still working? That is pretty awesome. I'm going to unplug that. Unplug the power. Okay, I should be able to pull cables. They are long cables. Oh, one thing that may have caught. No, that's just a straight. And that is our serial port for sure. Looks like they have extra connectors plugged in here for this little crummy. That's another thing. I got to see if I have a better cooler. If not, I'll have to order something new open stock. Now, the hard drive. The hard drive. So it looks like that side is not screwed in. Now I do have adapters also to put modern power supplies in. This power supply seems to be working perfect. Like I said, this was apparently not a deployed system. So there's a high probability that everything here is like new, other than the fact of, you know, sitting age and battery. But other than that, we're looking at a pretty much brand new 486 that didn't get deployed. And when I say it didn't get deployed, this was a military training backup for a training spot. It was donated to me by an old friend. There we go. So now we got this coming out. What do we got here? We got a Connor. May have to look this one up. CF. Might be a 200 gig, but we're going to look this, or meg, maybe not gig. CF S210A. Well guys, I was right. It's a 210 meg hard drive, and very slow. I think it's like 20 megabytes a second or something like that. But anyway, this was a pretty good drive for its time. The mod I'm going to be doing may not utilize this at all. So we'll have to wait and see what my intentions are for this drive. I do have some brand new old stock sealed actually IDE drives, but they're like 40s and 80s. And I don't think that's the right size for this, but this is pretty cool. Everything's getting in the way. Need a bigger studio. Alright. Power supply is still pretty standard other than the connector. The screw holes seem to be somewhat in the same spot, but as you'll see, there's nothing standard about this connector. And I just found a piece of paper in this thing. I'll have to look at that. Okay, so when we remove this power supply, is it going to remove now? Yep. Oh. Nope, it actually has a retainer screw right here, which I remember that now. That was an old let's do this type of thing. So you put it in place, you screwed that screw down, and then you screwed your back screws in, and it didn't move. Here we go. Oh, it's pretty clean in there. So it's possible that this was not used. The sticker, I don't know if that's a scratch or it was opened. So now we have to unplug the connector. And this is where things get different. Now the easiest thing for these to remember is black and black to the middle. So I mean you can't mix it up. Okay, so black and black to the middle, and you should be okay plugging these in. So this power supply should almost remove now. Okay, we have, so the power button in the front is one of them flip switches, or is it push button? No, it's push button, but it connects directly to the power supply via these power connectors. So hopefully they're all marked. That was the ground. Blue to blue. Beige to beige. Okay, looks like we're okay to unplug. Kind of a neat setup, actually. So this power supply is a 200 watt high efficiency. Wow. 12 volt rail is 8 amp. 5 volt rail is 20 amp. And then you have 0.5 amps on the 5 and the 12 negatives. That's it's small. Jabba Systems Inc. Jabba Power Supplies. Comment below if you heard of them. I don't think I remember that name in my time, but hey, you never know. Jabba the Hutt Power Supplies. Okay, so motherboard is basically here now for me to take a complete look at. We need to remove those connectors, but as I said before, take a photo first, so that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to remove those 2 screws. Back in the day with these, you put posts, and what I mean by post is these little plastic standoffs. That's how the board was held in, so it didn't sag or droop or make contact with the case in any which way or form. That was a huge thing. This coming out, or is it stripped? Slight possibility that's not coming out. And I don't want to have to work on this while it's inside here. So that is a serious problem. Nice that all the RAM is deployed, so that's cool, and it's EDO, so I mean, I don't really have much of that in stock, so that is really good to see. I don't know if this comes off this. It doesn't. It's stamped, so I have no choice but to take the board out and move it. The question is, how am I going to fix that? So we have a little problem. A little bit more than a little problem. That kind of sucks. I'm going to take the front facing off so I can actually possibly work on it, but I want to be very careful because this plastic is probably really brittle now. But as you can see, there's no damage or anything to really say uh-oh in this case, so that is really good. Okay, case is slowly coming off. We'll get to find out what that paper is that I see in here. I don't think the camera can see it. Right here. Yeah, you can see it. I think it might be drive parameters and jumpers, maybe, like a print off, which is kind of cool, even though I found the drive right away and all of its glory online and everything about it, right down to the settings of the drive for the BIOS. Now this BIOS should be new enough to automatically put those in, but in case it isn't because of that daughter board, then I can manually enter it with the information that's given to me. And that's pretty cool. Okay, so we have, is that going to be a pain to take out? Yep, Connor peripherals. So this is the hard drive, guys. It's got a little note here too saying it didn't work when it was put in a certain mode. So that's good to know on my end. Again, probably maybe not going to use this anyway. Nice to know if it worked. So that's pretty cool. We actually have the paperwork and some notes. So our big problem now is that guy. That is an easy issue. And there's a cable that is not hooked up and not marked. Okay, so let's do the photo thing. We're going to do the photo bomb. So the board is marked. There is labels on the board. I mean, at worst case scenario, I look up the board, but it was marked. So, bum-ba-da-ba. And we're able to actually take this all out through here. I was going to actually start ripping out the LEDs and the key fob, and yeah, that would have been stupid. Oh, that's a speaker, and we don't need that right now. So there we go. We have this piece off. This looks like it was probably the original color, and that's what it is now. So I'm going to actually take this, take everything out of it, and clean it up. It's pretty interesting how these buttons are nice, and whatever that reset button is terrible. Yes, and we have a turbo button to make your computer go slower. Okay guys, I may have to cut that out or figure out another way to remove it. So I will do that off camera and we'll get back to this. Okay guys, off camera, I got an extra person to come in and help me, and we finally got that screw out. And what had happened, the screw was put into the piece, I guess, crooked, and we ended up getting the screw completely out of the bottom. Got it off, vice grip, gone. So that's solved. Now this is the problem. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to see that easy, but ooh, where are we here? See the corrosion? But the beauty here is no damage so far to the board. So this is a got lucky situation. So we're going to take that off now. I'm going to try using my little side cutters. So as you can see there, really greenish. But as you can see here, no damage. Nothing a little bit of rubbing alcohol won't clean up. And that's it. Well guys, I hope you're excited, and as well as I am, I mean, to get this new build done. I mean, new old build, but hey, I mean, this is the fun of vintage. And if you're getting into vintage, make sure you check this immediately. Now I have a bunch of other things and projects I'm going to do, even with this system, upgrades and so on. And you know, it's going to be a fun ride. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe and help me through this journey. And of course, if you guys have any good ideas here, let me know in the comments below. Game over.